Well, it's been a while since I posted a video. I think last week I posted like 3 or 4 videos, and I wasn't going to make anything this week. I just didn't really have a whole lot to talk about. But I honestly thought by now the SNAP benefits thing was going to be figured out. I really thought after all the election stuff, the Democrats and Republicans were just going to, okay, we're done with this, you know, what's it called, the horse and pony show, and release the money, or Trump was going to find some money or something that he was going to be show up and be the hero and stuff. Well, that didn't happen. So it still looks like the government shut down, and it looks like SNAP benefits are still not coming. And I'm seeing more videos now of people going to like food banks and stuff like that. And I wanted to talk about a couple things about it. I saw a lady that was going through all the stuff that she had gotten from a food bank. And it's hard to feed people healthy food. It's hard to feed them healthy proteins and produce and, fruits and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's usually processed stuff or canned stuff or stuff that's easy to make. However, one of the videos I saw, the lady had, she was pulling out, a bag of shrimp and a bag of, she had fish, and like, it was like a bunch of different stuff. And like, as I'm watching the video, I'm like, oh, you can make this. Oh, you can make that. Oh, you can make this. And not realizing this whole generation of people don't know how to cook, which is alarming and something I guess I really never thought of. She had like beans and stuff like that, and was just like confused on how to make it. Like, if it can't go in a microwave, they or doesn't have instructions on the back of the box that you can add a couple ingredients and put it on the stove. That's like, it's lost on people. People don't know how to cook these days, which is interesting and alarming. That we've gotten to a point in society where people just aren't cooking their food no more. They're getting fast food or just microwave processed boxed stuff. And it's doesn't help, our medical system at all. So not only are these people leaning on the government to feed them, they're now leaning on the government to take care of their unhealthy lifestyle. I talked about this in the last video I did on this topic. And another aspect to this, and something I never really considered, was not only are these people going to be looting stores and stealing from stores to feed their family, but there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to take advantage of this situation and saying, I need to feed my family, and pull on people's heartstrings while they're robbing stores and stealing from stores. But this is something I found out and learned when I was an addict, and I was doing business, you can say, with homeless people. And there's people that have, especially in like minority communities, if you're from Southern California, the Corona, Riverside, Norco area, you know about home gardens. And it's like a little Mexico, you can call it. A bunch of like tire shops and body shops, and that was where my shop was in that area. And when I was using, I had become familiar with some of the homeless people out there because they always knew where to pick up from. And we would there's people in those kinds of communities, in those minority communities, that basically set up a black market grocery store in their house. And since most homeless people don't have vehicles, I had a vehicle, and they were willing to steal. So We would go to big box stores like Walmart or the grocery store, and they would fill up a shopping cart full of stuff that these black market garage grocery stores would buy off us. And a lot of times it was stuff you wouldn't think of. And so when you see a video of someone going in there and stealing a whole bunch of Tide Pods, and you're like, what the heck does he need all those Tide Pods for? It's to resell to these people. So these people will set up like I said, aisles in their garage and inside their house. And it's like, I got laundry detergents over here, and there's, deodorant and toothpaste over there, and, boxed foods and all kinds of stuff, toilet paper, and all that kind of stuff that you would need for your house. And they would buy it on the cheap from us, drug addicts, and then, resell it to their community. They also would buy EBT cards because they could do the same thing. They could just use that EBT card, go to the store, and buy a bunch of product for their little store. It's a total racket, and it's a big issue with the system that's being exploited, and people are going to use this SNAP crisis to go and commit these kinds of crimes, because people are gonna already assume that's what's going on, is people are desperate and hungry. And the truth of it is, a lot of it is for resale and to make money. Now, in that vein of people stealing from stores, another thing, I think I had mentioned this in a short, was I was watching another, YouTube channel, and they had mentioned, be careful leaving the store. Another thing when I was using, guys would do is they would watch the pharmacies. And, you'd see some little old lady come out of the pharmacy with her big old white bag full of pills. They would follow her home and then rob from her at her house, either break in later on or rob her in her driveway, in the parking lot at the store. And I'm afraid that's what's going to be happening here is, you come out of the grocery store with a shopping cart overflowing with groceries, they're going to jam you up in the parking lot, or they're going to follow you home and steal from you when you get home. So be careful. After my youngest one was born, I really stopped letting my wife go places by herself. And it's not because I am controlling, because trust me, I don't want to go to the grocery store. I just was really afraid that she'd be vulnerable by herself with a little one. My middle son, he's 10, 11 years old. He can scream and fight back and knows how to call 911. Like he is better off than a newborn 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old. So yeah, like I won't let my wife, she's like, hey, it's 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night. And she's like, hey, I'm gonna run to the grocery store real quick. I'm not gonna let her, period. There's no way. And we live in a pretty rural area where robbing somebody in the parking lot would be a real bad idea. Rural Texas is not where you want to be trying to rob people. We're not in the city. I'm not in San Antonio or Austin or Houston or Dallas. I'm out in the outskirts of those places. So, but another thing when I was using and I was dealing with these homeless is you go into the nice areas because they don't expect the crime. Back in Southern California, some of our family friends, one of them was a sheriff in our area, and I used to leave the garage open all the time. Once you get to a certain age, men, you will know hanging out in the garage is just something you do. I'd wake up in the morning and open the garage door, and I'd be in and out of the garage all day. I'd sit out there. I'd be working on something, sitting on my phone, whatever it may be. And he'd come over one day and was like, Tony, you need to stop leaving your garage open all the time. And I was like, why? We live in a, relatively nice area, low crime area. He's like, well, that's where they target. they drive around these areas and they drive by and they see your garage open. They're like, look at all those tools he has. He's got a big toolbox. He's got welders. He's got all this stuff in there. We'll come back by when no one's home. Fortunately, at the time, I was living with my parents, my wife, and my kids, so there was never no one not home. There was never a time where everybody was gone, which is what's convenient, I guess. But yeah, even in my area where I'm at now, I live in like I said, a rural area that's a gated community. But we have a lot of construction going on, and these guys drive by, these construction workers are driving in and out of the neighborhood, and they see my garage door open and they see stuff that's easy to grab, running up in the garage and grabbing a chainsaw or grabbing a weed whacker and jumping back in the truck and taking off. In fact, we had it happen. I'd gotten in this like little high speed pursuit one day. My son and I, in my wife's car, she had a little Kia Sport or something at the time. We were leaving and we were at the gate, or actually we were partway down the street, and this big white Dodge Ram comes up on me super fast and then goes around me. And, I'm right here and there's a cart oncoming this direction and he splits between us. And I'm like, dude, I'm so sick of these construction workers driving like jerks in the neighborhood. And we start chasing him down, and halfway down the block, another big construction truck with the, company logo on the side is chasing me and has his flashes on. He's honking and swerving. And I was like, oh, he must be chasing this guy. So I kind of get over and let him go around, and I'm like, we're going to catch this guy at the next stop sign or when we get to our main highway, because it's pretty there's a lot of traffic and it's not easy just to dart out onto, rural area. We don't have stoplights and stop signs and stuff like that. And we get to that point and he just cuts in front of traffic and hops on the road and takes off down the street, and we're on our way to baseball practice. For all I know, this guy stole a weed whacker. I'm not going to kill my kid and wreck the car to go, catch this guy. Come to find out, that guy the week before had stolen an entire trailer of tools off of another job site that was right next. The guy that was chasing him was on the job site next to him, and he stole all of his tools and stuff like that. We had just gotten a new gate installed in front of our neighborhood. The guy drove through that gate and knocked down all the pillars, destroyed the gate, and was running from the guy. So just because you live in a nice area doesn't mean it can't come to you. So don't think, your wife's safe going to the grocery store because you live in a nice area, because that's where they go to to take advantage of people's being naive. And then they're going to look for the weak. Like I said, a woman by herself loading groceries in the back of the car at 9-10 o'clock at night is easy pickings for these people. So be careful out there. These are just some other aspects to this whole ordeal. I thought by now it would already all be figured out. Another aspect to this is, why are so many people, 42 million people, on government food subsidies? It's crazy. I've talked about this many times about enabling people. I was very enabled growing up from my parents, and hopefully having these benefits run out, a lot of these people are going to be like, shit, I need to get a job to survive. I can't lean on the government anymore. And they kind of wake up and take some accountability and go out and try to better themselves, get a job, and stop leaning on the government for their way of life. It's insane. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't. And, I hate to say it too, a lot of these people have side hustles. A lot of these people that are on SNAP benefits, the government is paying for their groceries, but they got a side hustle while they're making money to buy their kid Jordans and go get their nails done and drive nice cars. And then meanwhile, people like me and you, the middle class who, skimp out on Christmas because the bills need to be paid, are struggling to make ends meet. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating being American. I struggle with groceries too. You know what I mean? It's expensive. Living's expensive. And it's just frustrating when people take advantage of the system like this. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, be safe out there. It doesn't seem like there's been too much rioting and looting going on over all this stuff, but doesn't mean that it's not coming. So be careful.